Hebrews, Hebrews, Hebrews. This is our Prophets of Awakening. It's our Sunday Advanced Bible Study, the 26th of January 2025. I saw some stuff in Joshua chapter 1, verses 15 through 32, and we'll talk about that in Joshua chapter 2, 1 through 10. We'll read those and break them down. You can go to our YouTube channel, The Prophets of Awakening, check out our videos. We have over 1,000 or so videos that you can examine and look at and get the correct understanding out of those videos that lead you to the truth of the Holy Scriptures. And if you like what you're hearing and receiving, I'm asking you to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. It'll be greatly appreciated. Shalom and welcome to the channel. Welcome to our Sunday Advanced Bible Study. Okay, we're going to do our normal, which is a moment of silence, prayer, psalms. We have some current events, need to know information. Then we open it up for anybody with any comments or questions or anything, dialogue. Then we go into our topic, Joshua 1, verses 15 to 22, and Joshua 2, verses 1 through 10. We break them down. Then somebody decide to pick a scripture, we'll deal with that also. Okay. So this moment of silence is for the Lord of hosts and all that he's doing to bring about our prophesied deliverance in these last days. Okay. O Lord, I pray unto the Lord my God, when we make our confessions, O Lord, the great and dreadful God, keeping covenant and mercy to them that love thee and to them that keep thy commandments. O Lord, righteousness belongeth unto thee, but unto us a confusion of face as it is this day, to the men of Judah, to the inhabitants of Jerusalem, and unto all Israel that are near, that are far off, and through all the countries whither thou hast driven us, because of our trespasses, we have trespassed against thee. O Lord, hear this prayer and cause thy face to shine upon thy people for your sake. O Lord, open thine eyes and incline thy ear to hear and behold our condition. O Lord, hear. O Lord, forgive and hearken and do, defer not, for we need you so very much at this hour. Peace be unto you. Okay. So with that being said, read the Psalms. Okay. Okay. Read the Psalms. I think we're on Psalm 60. Okay, it's a prayer for help against the foe. O God, thou hast cast us off, thou hast scattered us, thou hast been displeased. O turn thyself to us again. Thou hast made the earth to tremble, thou hast broken it. Heal the breaches thereof, for it is shaken. Thou hast showed the people hard things. Thou hast made us to drink the wine of astonishment. Thou hast given a banner to them that fear thee, that it may be displayed because of the truth, Selah, that thy beloved may be delivered. Save with thy right hand and hear me. God has spoken in his holiness. I will rejoice. I will divide Shechem and meet out the valley of Sukkot. Gilead is mine, Manasseh is mine, Ephraim also is the strength of my head. Judah is my lawgiver, Moab is my wash spot. Over Edom will I cast out my shoe. Philistina triumph, though thou because of me. Who will bring me into the strong city, and who will lead me into Edom? Will not thou, O God, which have cast us off, and thou, O God, which didst not go out with our armies, give us help from trouble, for vain is the help of man. Through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies. Okay, that was Psalm 60, a prayer for help against our foes. Anybody have any comments on that? No comments? So we could potentially on this line shine the light on the fact that how our ancestors and even today Everybody is looking toward a man to deliver the Israelites, right? And not looking at what actually happened in the Bible and who it was that delivered us. And when you go to verses 11 and 12, it says, give us help, for vain is the help of man. And that's what we've been doing, looking for man to help us. 12, through God, which is the Lord of hosts, through God we shall do valiantly, for he it is that shall tread down our enemies. Okay? Anybody have any questions, comments? Okay, we'll go to some current events. Play and then we'll talk about
So
it.
tax season here in the United States officially starts tomorrow on Monday, January 27th. This is actually a very important day because this means that millions and millions of people can start receiving their federal income tax returns. This is big because this means that those people could get money back into their pockets, into their wallets, and into their bank accounts so that they can buy food, keep a roof over their head, and put fuel in their cars. But as this is happening, Donald Trump has said something just the other day that has many of these IRS agents on high alert. Look at this. It says Donald Trump issues major threat to nearly 90,000 IRS agents, and that threat could impact you. I'm going to explain what's going on at this time, how millions of people could actually see an income tax return be delayed, but why this is also potentially good news. So I'm going to break all this down in just a moment, explain what is going on and how you are going to be impacted moving forward into February. So I'll do this in just a moment, but all I ask is one thing. It takes 2 seconds. Go ahead, hit that like button if you enjoy these daily updates. And now let's begin. So yes, President Trump has just issued a major threat to nearly 90,000 IRS agents. And he did this yesterday. I'll explain what Donald Trump just did. Look at this. It says, during an unscheduled stop on the casino floor in Circa Resort and Casino in Las Vegas, Nevada on Saturday, Donald Trump said he might terminate the contracts of thousands of Internal Revenue Service workers, reviving debunked claims that the agency has hired 88,000 enforcement agents to go after taxpayers in the first few years. Goes on to say, on day one, I immediately halted the hiring of any new IRS agents. He says, they hired or tried to hire 88,000 new workers to go after you. And we're in the process of developing a plan to either terminate all of them or maybe we'll move them to the border. Now, what we've been told over the past several years, and it actually was pretty true, is that they were going to hire 80,000 new IRS agents to go after those tax cheats, is what they called them. But then there were reports that no, they weren't going after those tax cheats. They were technically going after the millionaires and billionaires of the US. That's who they're going after. The problem is they hired on 80,000 new IRS agents, didn't have much experience. So trying to go up against a group of lawyers who this is what they do and have done for decades, well, they had very little success. But according to reports, this year, if the Trump administration doesn't do something, what these 80,000 plus new IRS agents are going to do is they are not going to just go after the millionaires and billionaires. What they would then be instructed to do is treat everybody the same. So if you make $5,000, you make $25,000, you make $250,000, or you make $25 million, you'd be treated the same way, which means every single person could get audited. This is why the IRS is on high alert. But then just yesterday, Donald Trump says that he is going to halt, or he did halt all hiring, but this is why it really matters. Look at this. It says, Should Trump really follow through on his threat and let go of thousands of IRS agents or transfer them to other roles? During his presidency, the agency could see its capacity to collect taxes and ensure that individuals and corporations comply with tax laws significantly reduced. That could lead to less enforcement, higher rates of tax evasion, and potentially less revenue for the federal government. Okay, here's the crazy.
This bizarre salt trick will make you as
I want to explain what's going on here. Donald Trump, again, he's had some, or President Trump. I know it's still new, still trying to get to it. Okay, I want to read you this. Okay, because here's what we're now hearing. It says Trump's comments on IRS agents was made during the president's first swing state rally since taking office on Monday. Nevada, where Trump made promises to eliminate the tax on tips during his presidential campaign, was among the 7 swing states that gave the Republican a sweeping victory in November. On Saturday, President Trump told the crowd that he vowed to get it for you, no tax on tips. While talking about taxes, he made the threat to terminate thousands of IRS agents' jobs or move them to the U.S.-Mexico border. Yeah, either if you want to work for the federal government, well, this is what you're going to have to do. Listen to this. Goes on to say, I think we're going to move them to the border where they are allowed to carry guns. You know?
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody heard anything about that?
Shalom. No, sir, I haven't heard about that part, the ending part.
Okay. Anybody else?
Shalom. That's going to be interesting to see. I mean, it may be a temporary high for people in terms of filing taxes, but it's going to erode our ability to do the services that we provide, um, such as like the future of Social Security, Medicare, Medicaid, other programs that are run through the federal government without proper income coming in. And I'm not sure how quickly you can turn a person from doing a white collar job like doing taxes to in essence, if you taking the statements at their word, to a military person. Because those are two
Okay.
different things. A person has a right. They're not joining the military. They didn't join the military. So that's going to be interesting if taken at face value, that transition and what's going to happen.
Okay. Anybody else? Yeah.
Yeah, I
So
have something to say. Um, First of all, I think it's bogus, and it's ludicrous to think that somebody like Donald Trump would actually hire another 80,000 people so they could look for tax breakers when he himself is the number one tax breaker. Okay. Now, would he hire more people? Yeah, I believe he would hire more IRS people, but not to go after their own people. It's to go after all of us. That's what I believe. That's his character. That's the kind of thing that man would do.
okay. Yeah. I always thought that it was like a seasonal thing. They hired those people just to get all the people's taxes done. It's like seasonal. It's not a year round. That's what I thought.
Shalom.
No,
Yeah, Shalom. That's what we've been doing.
Mm.
They do hire on extra workers during certain seasons. It's like I forgot what the official federal title is when you come in. They're not career employees. They come in like for 3 years, depending on the agency that they're in.
Right.
But yeah, I agree with the last speaker. I mean, I'm more likely for that to happen than the extreme of them turning them into some type of uh people working at the border as some kind of gun coat toting federal worker. That and you're not gonna be able to do that.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It seem, like I said, it seems like to me he's getting running the government mixed up with you're fired. The talk show he had, whatever he called it.
Yeah.
That's what it seemed like to me. He ain't he's not. It's not serious. Yeah. So anyway, we talked about the open AI that they coming up with the $500 billion they're supposed to be going to spend in the next 4 years to connect these open AI with crypto and all that stuff. Well, look at what just happened.
New piece of technology that is disrupting the entire tech world. But what's more fascinating about this development is the timing of its release and what it means for the future of US-China relations. On January 20th, the very same day that Donald Trump was sworn in as the 47th president of the United States, they released DeepSeek R1, an advanced AI tool designed for deep data analysis that is an immediate rival to America's OpenAI.
It took Google and OpenAI years and billions of dollars to build the latest AI large language models, but now a Chinese research lab has built a competitive model in just 2 months with dumbed down GPUs for less than, get this, $6 million, not billion, $6 million.
So China just created the same thing that's even better for only $6 million. And they telling us what they doing over here is going to be $500 billion. So it sounds like to me, dead cat on the line.
I like to say it. That sounds about right. Everything that America does always costs a lot more than anybody else. You have Chinese paying them nothing, and over here you got a bunch of people who are lazy, don't want to work, get to pay them a lot of money, even though they don't know what they're doing half the time.
Right.
Shalom. One thing I'm
Okay.
looking at this is that they may have to watch these the people that can hack into things. So this AI has to be hack proof. If not, they have a lot of work ahead of them.
Okay. Yeah. So go ahead.
Shalom, I'm sorry. I was going to say this kind of piggybacks on a video that I think we heard on Thursday, where they were talking about using that new visa system to bring in specialized workers, and a significant of the workers that they were talking about were from India. Well, I found that to be interesting. That and if you remember, I don't know if everybody saw it, but there was this cartoonist from the early 1900s, I think, or the early 20th century that wrote this, made a cartoon with the United States and Britain as very small people with whips, and the giants that were standing over them were Africa, China, and India. And the very people that they're saying that they want to come to rival China is from India, another colonized country. I just find that fascinating.
Right. It sounds like to me, according to the picture, is bricks. They're predicting
Exactly.
bricks. Right.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, yeah. So yeah. And another thing, looking at this, when you look at the difference in the amount of money it's going to cost, what the Chinese done and what they're saying, it looks like to me another cash grab, like they did with Obama in 2008. All the money that the Folsom, whatever his name was, created all that money to get to the banks to bail the banks out. Seems like to me it's another Ponzi scheme for the elite to get a whole bunch of America's money.
But
How can they spend only $6 million on something that they spending $500 billion on, and it's better than the one that you $100 billion?
and they
That's
built
got
it.
to be cash grab. Go ahead.
Yeah, and they built it faster. They built it in 2 months. My question is, to your point about the acquiring of the money. If the money is paper and there's nothing behind it, well, what do you actually got?
Exactly.
That's
Right.
one of the biggest reasons why we went to war with Iraq. Because Saddam Hussein decided he was going to go on the gold standard, and they made up some bogus excuse, and this fake 9/11 attack, leading to a war with Iraq, which they didn't find anything there. And then when Gaddafi Libya decided to do the same thing. They found some reason to do away with him. And now that the BRICS nations are doing that, he's talking about 100% tariffs across the board because they know that as soon as they do that, because right now they only, I think, control over 44% of global sales and stuff. So they've gone down quite a bit in a little bit of time. And I can see that that could spiral out of control real quick where they can crash overnight. This is what I'm saying. We got to really pay attention to what's going on.
Yeah.
Right.
Shalom.
You gotta include when you're talking about what happened with uh Saddam Hussein and Gaddafi, you gotta also include what they did with the Arab Spring, how they collapsed all those other countries using their arms.
Yes.
Same thing, all that was included. And so understanding that, you got to know they headed toward those Sahel with Mali and Burkina Faso and what's going on over there. They got to cut that off or try to. Somebody had something?
Yes, shalom. Um, Going back to the AI and that they done it in 2 months and that it took so long for the US to do it. I think everything is by design to announce these things as they are because China probably have been everything's been working on. So once they're ready to release it, they released it in such a way that to make the West says that China is really fast in doing things, and far as the West now is slow. It's not like I'm so much on the West, but I'm living here. But how things are put out into the mainstream, into throw the rock, hide the hand situation. Let's let everybody see what's going over here, but we know what we're doing over here. When I'm
Right,
just going
right.
back to the timing of these things coming out right now.
Okay. Yeah, it's just like with like the guy was saying when he started. You think it's a coincidence that they came out with this deep seat right at when Trump was being inaugurated, and then looking at that, it's like China is exposing America because every time they come out with something, like I said, you telling me costing all this money, but here come China and they do it for a hell of a lot less. So it's like they exposing America. Every time they do something, they come back and expose it. It's as if they talking to the populace. You know what I mean?
Shalom.
So it's not.
I want to add one.
Go ahead.
Me or
Go ahead.
the gentleman?
Let the sister go first. Let the sister go first.
Go
I'm
ahead.
fine.
Go
You,
ahead.
you know, thank you, sir. So the last 10 years or so, or maybe even 15 years, all we've been hearing about is how poorly made China's products are, or that
Right.
China has been stealing the technology from America, that they got all these spies over here and they're stealing our technology. Now we're
Right.
seeing, that could have been just propaganda, because
Right.
everything is coming from China, but yet they're telling us it's poorly made or is something wrong with it, or that they're really getting their technology from us and then turning it around and using it for themselves or perfecting it. I just think that's
Right.
interesting, an interesting point too.
Right. It is. Okay. What you
Shalom.
got?
I'm gonna write. Oh, go ahead, sir.
No, go ahead. Go ahead. I'll wait. No problem.
No, you go ahead because mine's is not on that. Go ahead.
Okay. Um. Well, what was it that we were talking about? I'm sorry. My thought is switching over.
Yeah, we was
Well, what I
talking
wanted.
about the China creating that alternative to open link
Got it. Well, I
AI.
listen to a lot of independent news networks. These are people who are world renowned. They either were highly up in the government at one time and are no longer there, and they're revealing a lot of the stuff that's going on. And I'm finding it very strange. Just recently, I'm finding out that China is still lending money to the U.S. Now, where's that money going? It's going to Ukraine. So that doesn't make any kind of sense. If these people are enemies, why is China still lending the United States money knowing that it's going to a war that they supposedly object to? I don't know, man. There's something weird going on. I could be crazy. I mean, I'm an analytical person. I could break things down, and I see that we're all going to probably be fooled in the end with a lot of these characters.
Well, yeah. It's like I was saying. What you're looking at is a controlled demo job. They bring this place down right in
Sounds
front of
right.
our face. Right. Okay. So with that being said, I'll play a little more of this.
Is the biggest story coming out of China right now because it will change the future of tech around the world. But once again, I want you to focus on the timing of this event. Make no mistake, China waited to release this impressive development the morning of Donald Trump's inauguration to send a strong signal to the US government. Under the Biden regime, the US government passed unprecedented tech sanctions against China, hoping to contain the country's rise. At the very moment Trump ascended into power, China launched this new AI platform to send a clear and stern message to the Trump administration. Not only have we managed to survive the previous administration's sanctions, we've managed to thrive. China's new AI software performs just as well as its American counterpart, but China did it with half the technology and at a fraction of the cost. Even more incredible, China is making its new AI tool open source, allowing anyone to view, modify, distribute, and use this new software.
OpenAI's moat may be shrinking. If a model like DeepSeek can emerge with competitive performance, minimal cost, and reliance on existing outputs, it signals a rapidly shrinking barrier to entry in AI development, challenging the current dominance of industry leaders like OpenAI and Google and Anthropic and Meta, by the way.
Right. Like I said, their objective is it's like they're taunting. You know, every time they do something, they come out with something else and embarrass them. Right. Okay. So for the people that had voted for Trump, right, the blacks, all these excuses that came up on why they voted for Trump, right? So let's look at this. And like I said, me myself, I think they ought to be shameful. Here we go. If this don't rally the cage, I don't know what.
Before we get started, please go over to do to help your son. You are not going to believe what I am about to tell you. Now, I'm not shocked. I'm not shocked.
I ain't either.
But I bet you're not going to believe this. The United States Air Force
Trump
will no longer teach its cadets about the Tuskegee Airmen because of DEI and Trump's executive orders. They're not going to teach their cadets, their airmen, about the famed, the absolute awesome Tuskegee Airmen. It makes me livid. But I'm not shocked. I'm not surprised. I just wonder, what are black MAGA men, how are they going to spin this? How are black Trump supporters, how are they going to spin this? What are they going to say now? There's no way to spin this, but I'm sure they'll think of something. Let's go to the story. Here's an article here in the AP. Let's read it. More DEI fallout. Air Force scraps course that used videos of Tuskegee Airmen and female World War II pilots. Look at this. And look at those men. Look at those men who were actually Tuskegee Airmen, who did a tremendous job during World War II, serving this country, risking their lives. Let's read the article. It says right here, the Air Force has removed training courses with videos of its storied Tuskegee Airmen and the Women Air Force Service Pilots, or WASP, the female World War II pilots who were vital in ferrying warplanes for the military to comply with the Trump administration's crackdown on diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives. This has gone way too far.
Exactly.
These men did nothing wrong. They served their country with honor and distinction and great, great, great competence. Yet because of this DEI, anti-DEI stuff, they're getting disrespected.
Okay. Any comments on that? Anybody heard anything about that?
I know about the Tuskegee experiment and what happened there. And you're right, it does kind of piss me off to think about it. And I don't think that was an accident that they canceled those programs. They knew exactly all the areas he was going to touch. And they started with the schools pulling out all kinds of books and stuff that had to do with us and the things that we went through. So that's just the continuation of what he started with getting rid of all the books in Florida.
Right.
Shalom. So one of
Okay.
the other things is that the announcement came out that we will not be celebrating Black History Month too, as a federally. But the interesting thing to me again is what we've been talking about and why we come together is this is them telling us what they are not going to do. That has nothing to do with what we can do, will do, and what have been doing in terms of keeping the memory of our heroes and our sheroes alive ourselves. Again, we don't depend on them to boost us up or make us feel good about. That's something we do, not only as an individual, but to our fellow brothers and sisters. No, I'm not surprised. I'm not even upset because again, it's not their burden to bear. That's something that is shock and awe, and it's a distraction. We
Right.
come together in order to lift up our people and to remember our God. He gave us that power to do the things that these people made amazing and not losing a what was it? They never lost a plane. That's God gave them that ability, not nothing the military gave them.
Exactly. Right. It sounds like to me it's what was that? It was all those flying off the shelves back when Biden first came in office with Ron DeSantis had to do with Black history, and then what they was taking off they was taking tearing down all those Confederate statues. It
Hmm.
was something had to do with the school system, and
Oh,
they was in the uproar. What was they calling that? It was some had to do with the school system.
oh,
And
they're teaching critical race theory,
yeah, yeah, that's what that
yeah,
seemed like.
right?
Attacking
But
it.
it's
That's they bringing that back up. So it's automatically just like everybody was saying about Project 2025. It's a redneck application. That's what you're looking at. That's tied
but
right to critical race theory right there.
right, but the thing about it is it's created the opposite of that. You look at Florida and in other places, what we're hearing about, this is things that's being heard. We don't know about the things that are not being publicized, but those kids are volunteering to go to school on Sundays to learn about Black history in
Right,
Florida.
exactly. Right,
Right.
right.
So the more you try to squash something or hide something, it only makes it more interesting or for people to
Right,
pursue.
exactly. Right. And another way to look at that is that, like I said, wickedness, right? Wickedness. When you talk about wickedness, okay, you get into a conversation with a person and they get kind of heated. If you're a righteous person, that's over with. You through with that conversation. You going on to something else. They let you know they holding on to that. They ain't forgot all that happened with the statues and the critical race theory. They included it in 2025. They still got a chip on their shoulder behind it. They ain't let it go. We done moved on to something else, but they ain't forgot. Because we see it sticking his head up right here. Okay?
Shalom. The other part about that is what they always do though.
Right,
Look at the Civil War when the South lost. They did not criminalize or punish the people who lost. And then what, I don't know, 50 years later they start erecting all of these statues and
right,
naming
right,
the army bases after them. So
right,
what, in the last 5 years they started taking their names down, taking the statues down, maybe a little bit longer than 5 years. And now
right,
look what they're trying. They don't have nothing different to do other than what they've always done, because
Right.
they think it's going to work. And I don't think it's going to be as successful. I think the world has moved beyond that. I mean, I don't know if you're going to play a video about this, but I think that Brazil or someone like that made an announcement this weekend about that they're not accepting any planes with migrants on it until they come up with a plan to be able to manage this situation with dignity for the people who are affected. And I thought that was a pretty bold statement, coming from some of these countries where these people come from, making sure that, to say something like that to America, I think it's going to catch on.
Right. And go and even just a side note, um, they said that it was something had to do with the weather, the reason why they had the inauguration indoors, right? But go back to what we just talking about, the statues that was being torn down. A picture is worth 1,000 words. Go back and look at the inauguration. They wanted it indoors because they had all them Confederate statues in the background when Trump did his inauguration. They were sending out a message. And then, like I said, the whole thing was awash with Anglo-Saxons. That's all you saw. That was putting out a statement. And now you see what they're doing. Like this man just said, they didn't took a part of our history and just throw it on the ground and stomped it in our face. And the Negroes helped them do it by voting them in there. Went right along with the program. Somebody had something?
Shalom, Brother Leonard. I
Yeah.
was going to say the same thing excuse me, sir. I was going to say the same thing they did with the Bible. Look at what they done with the truth.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Tried to erase our history.
Exactly. And we supposed to like it.
Exactly.
Right. Somebody else had something?
Well, yeah, I just want to say that I agree with that other sister who said that, all that they're trying to do against us, it's actually being turned around to the opposite. That's why I have a smile on my face, because I see it happening too. They try so hard to do one thing, they undo one thing, and then something else happens on the other end. It's like no matter what they do, in the end, you can tell their hands are being tied by the Father Trump, because there's no way that they could be so crazy where they're saying one thing and then doing another. You know what I'm saying? They're so
Right.
flippant. That just doesn't sound logical to me.
Exactly. Right. Yeah. So with that being said, I'm gonna open it up for some questions, comments. Anybody have any questions, comments, or any dialogue? They want something they want to talk about. And now is the time.
Shalom.
Okay.
Somebody else had something?
No,
I,
go
w-
ahead.
I wanted to ask a question I had heard about over the weekend. I've lost some of my resources because of the um, sites I've been locked out of, but I had heard something about, it was it Nigeria, in response to the administration saying that they're going to cut off aid to all outside countries, predominantly Africa, that they are cutting off the oil and other exports and kicking out all of the American citizens from their countries or in their cities in Nigeria. Has anybody heard about that?
Yeah. It's ECOWAS. That's that whole. The biggest economic base in Africa. That's what Nigeria is a part of, and that's where those three countries, Mali, Niger, and Burkina Faso, came from. So now those people they picking up where Ibrahim Toure took off at. Now they kicking all Americans out. Anybody have anything to do with America? The embassies and all, they kicking them all out because of what they looking at what Trump doing.
So that is true.
Oh yeah, it's true. And then like I said, the guy Tory called out all the African diaspora, everybody that's outside of Africa, to come home and to you know what I mean?
Yeah.
A rally and cry.
Wow.
So it's happening. This my thing is that it's happening. All we gotta do is sit back. Like I said, keep doing what we're doing, keep these Shabbats, and just drawing closer and closer to our Redeemer. Okay. Anybody else have anything they want to bring up or talk about?
Specifically about the subject matter you're talking about, or anything? Is it open to anything?
Anything you got that you want to share or talk about?
Well, earlier today we talked about some of the things that are going on, and in this area in particular, it's starting to heat up. We actually had several protests that took place today because the government cannot take care of these people who can't take care of themselves, and it's getting to a breaking point here where people are really upset, and I just don't know how much time that we really do have, but I think it's important. And to your point, where you said before, and I agree with you that we need to have faith and trust that he's going to do what he says, which is to gather us. That's true. But from this point until then, we don't know exactly when that is. So I would think that it'd be very important and it's good for us to prepare ahead of time. And as we talked about earlier, that requires certain logistics that if things start to fall apart, we would all have to come to one central location in which all the things that we're requiring is going to be in that one central location, and everything, there has to be like departments within that. There has to be people, how do you call it, in charge of each thing. Um, it's kind of hard for me to say. You got people all around here, they're looking at me, so I don't want them to hear what I'm saying. But you got the idea I told you about earlier if you want to expound on that.
Yeah. We'll set a class up for that in the near future. Probably on a private conversation. You know what I'm saying?
Like I said, even if it's one day a week that we assign to that, so we can all talk about it and we can all bring whatever ideas to the table and how to make things better. I mean, I've been preparing for I don't know a good 5 years now. So a lot of stuff that would be required for something like that, I have a lot of that stuff. But so you understand what I'm saying anyway.
Right. I understand what you're saying. Yeah, we're gonna coordinate that, and we're gonna work it out. Okay.
Awesome.
Yeah. Anybody else? Anybody else have anything they want to share or talk about? Okay, so based on a lot of the things that we just talked about so far, I was gonna play this video because it's kind of like a roundup to the things we've been talking about, and it's like an eye opener. And if you want to watch the video, it's called "Why African Afro Descendants Are Returning to Africa." Stores of reconnection. So that's the most hot. That's the Lord of Hosts right there. But let's listen to
Met so many young Africans just like me chasing opportunities since I moved to Germany. We all share the same dream, to go back home and invest in our country's future. At the same time, other members of Africa's diaspora are stepping foot on the continent for the very first time in generations. In this special edition of the 77%, we explore the journeys of young people from the diaspora who have made their way back to their ancestral homeland. Our big question for them is, what does it truly mean to come home? Hello and welcome to the show. Coming up on the program, we find out why Kenya is a new destination for African Americans looking for a fresh start. In our street debate, we discuss what impact Afro Americans are having on Ghana's economy. And finally, we meet a filmmaker who has come home to transform Sierra Leone's image.
So I bought a $500 bottle of Creative Practice.
So like I said, you can see that it's happening right in front of our face.
A growing number of Black Americans are seeking new homes abroad, with Kenya quickly becoming a go-to destination. Our colleague Alexandria is a Black American herself. In her report from Nairobi, she seeks out other Afro-Americans to find out why they have grown weary of life in the West. We're at one of Nairobi's busiest intersections, Tubman Road, named after one of the most famous Black Americans in history. From street signs to matatus, there are images of Black Americans like me all over Kenya. But despite our cultural presence, few people seem to know about who we are and where we come from. What do you know about Black Americans? Black Americans. Yeah. Judah. The most thing we get about Black Americans is that they are violent and oppressive. After telling him that I was African American, he seemed to change his opinion. They're more progressive and they're more informed than us. Them coming here will be another advantage for us, I'd say that. The mixed messaging made me eager to know more. Are Black people from the Americas like me truly welcome here? Do Kenyans know we exist outside of pictures? To explore these questions, I met with Vanessa. She arrived in Nairobi a few months ago with Noah, her 4-year-old son. After traveling the world together, they're now adjusting to life in their luxury apartment. I cry a lot, if I'm honest with you. I miss my community, but also I know it's going to take time to adapt and to build my new community, but I know it's going to happen eventually. Back in Canada, where she grew up, Vanessa ran a successful business and was, by all appearances, living the dream. But she says that dream had limits. I was just dreaming. And when you dream, you need to go back and take care of your kid and cook and clean on top of that. It's too much for the average mom to do that. Her daily schedule includes homeschooling Noah. After, she leaves him with her nanny, which frees up her time to work on her travel relocation business and create content with her videographer, Hans. Diaspora's return to Africa. Kenya is a pretty new destination for diaspora returnees. So when they arrive, it is up to them to seek out their roots. Ghana, on the other hand, has made homecoming part of their national brand. They are the first country in Africa to do so through what's called the Year of Return Initiative. For more on that, here's my colleague Kaya. In 2019, Ghana kicked off the Year of Return, inviting the African diaspora to reconnect with their roots. And wow, did they respond. Over 1 million people came to Ghana that year, most arriving from the US and the UK. It was a homecoming like no other, filled with emotion, discovery, and celebration. The president at the time, Nana Akufo-Addo, said that since Ghana was once a key transit point in the transatlantic slave trade, the country felt a responsibility to welcome anyone who could trace their ancestry to Africa. Initiatives geared towards the future we want to see on our continent, not activities and initiatives that exclude the locals. One more comment from Ojonukwa says, my earnest prayer is that this movement fosters positive action, cultural exchange, and growth for the African continent and beyond. Thank you very much for your comments. This is a great starting point for this week's street debate from Accra, Ghana's capital. Our panel, featuring both experts and locals, share their thoughts and insights on what it takes to build stronger connections between the two groups. Hello and welcome back to the 77% Street Debate. This week we are back in Ghana's capital of Accra. Now, 400 years ago, the first women, men, and children forcibly stolen from this continent arrived on the other side of the Atlantic in America. Fast forward many years later, and the government, the modern government of Ghana, is saying to its international descendants, come back home. But what does that integration look like? And I want to start with you, Professor Campbell.
I went through what a lot of Black people go through, which is a trumped up charge, racism, and so forth. They don't ask you, are you a, citizen who's benefiting the community and so forth. So I decided that I was coming here to do my PhD. I did so. I'm doing pretty well. I've been installed as a traditional ruler. So this was given to me by the Nsumankwa Hini, the overall spiritual head of all of the Asante people. It's about being accepted. It's about being respected. And those are things that you don't get under Donald Trump and the divided snakes of a murderer.
Wow, those are some very strong words that you've chosen to use. And I want to come to the Bradbys here, who are a couple. And oh gosh, the couples here are always holding hands. Well, that's great. It's so cute. But they've also just joined a union, a lifelong union with Ghana. You got your citizenship yesterday. And there's something that the professor said here. This is how you considered America, where you actually grew up.
We moved for our safety and our children's safety. It is unsafe in the States, no matter where you go, if you look like us. Getting out of the land of our enemy was priority number one, to make sure that no matter what we did to build a business or to simply just live the simple life, we will be protected in that.
Nakia, is this also what you think?
For me, even I think back when I was in school and doing university, I remember I used to go on my phone and try to find like an app to look at to listen to radio stations in Accra just to hear the language. And I remember one night I was just sitting there and like I almost just cried just to not like to know that like this was taken from me.
You're
Like,
shaking now as you have goosebumps everywhere.
Because my great great grandmothers, these are the songs that they would sing, these are the language that they would use, and we don't have them anymore. And it's
So this right here is what I was saying when I read Isaiah 44, verses 1 through 5. This is Lord of hosts. He's putting it on our spirit. We saw it in Ezra when he says it was time for us to go. He said, those whose spirit he raised to return back home. That's all we're looking at. He's doing the same thing. Same guy that did that is doing this. And it's happening. It's been happening. We pretty much is getting ready to overflow. You know, it's not, they're waiting on this to happen, but it's already happening in our face. Like I said, you want to watch that video, I think it's in the link. See, I put it in the link. Anybody got any comments on that? Okay, everybody good on that? So
Yes,
with
sir.
that being said, we'll go to some like I said, I was gonna read out of Joshua. I'm gonna read Joshua chapter 1, 15 through 22. Then I'll come back and read Joshua 2, 1 through 10. So I'm in chapter 1, right? It's kind of dealing with the creation, but some stuff in there I saw I wanted to shine light on. I'm in chapter 1, starting at verse 15, right? It says, and it was at the expiration of few years that they brought an approximating offering. This Cain and Abel offering to the Lord. And Cain brought from the fruit of the ground, and Abel brought from the firstling of his flock, or from the fat thereof. And God turned and inclined to Abel and his offering, and fire came down from the Lord from heaven and consumed it. And unto Cain and his offering, the Lord did not turn, and he did not incline to it, for he had brought from the inferior fruit of the ground, because from the ground before the Lord. And Cain was jealous against his brother Abel on account of this, and he sought a pretext to slay him, right? Okay. It says, and then sometime after, Cain and Abel, his brother, went one day in the field to do their work, and they were both in the field, Cain tilling and plowing his ground, and Abel feeding his flock, and the flock passed that part of which Cain had plowed in the ground, and it sorely grieved Cain on this account. And Cain approached his brother Abel in anger, and he said unto him, what is there between me and thee, that thou comest to dwell and bring thy flock to feed in my land? And Abel answered his brother Cain and said unto him, what is there between me and thee, that thou shalt eat the flesh of my flock and clothe thyself with their wool? And now therefore put off the wool of my sheep, with which thou hast clothed thyself, and recompense me for their fruit and the flesh which thou hast eaten. And when thou shalt have done this, I will then go from thy land as thou hast said. And Cain said unto his brother Abel, surely if I slay thee this day, check it out. Cain said unto his brother Abel, surely if I slay thee this day, who will requite thy blood from thee? So what you have to look at right here, I was talking about this the other day, about the DNA. Where is they coming from? You're actually sitting around thinking about killing Abel. So you got to look at these boys supposed to be the first fruits of Adam, the first fruits that came from Adam's DNA. So why would he have slain his brother on his mind? Okay, 22. And Abel answered Cain, saying, surely God who has made us, check it out, Abel, this righteous, this from Adam's lineage, righteous Abel, right? Abel answered Cain, saying, surely God, we know this is the Lord of hosts, who has made us in the earth, he will avenge my cause. Check it out. And he will require my blood from thee, should thou slay me. Now here you go. For the Lord is judge and arbitrator. That's the Lord of hosts. I told you the other day, when he came and took the Levites to be amongst him, from among the tribes of Israel, he took them to help him judge the earth. That's how we got over here. They stopped judging. That's who the sovereign servant is, the Levites. They stopped doing their job. So it says the Lord is judge and arbitrator, and it is he who will quit man according to his evil, and the wicked man according to the wickedness that he may do unto upon the earth. So that's where the laws, statutes, and judgments that he gave Moses come from. He, Lord of hosts, the judge. 23. And now, if thou shouldest slay me here, surely God knoweth thy secret views and will judge thee for the evil which thou declare to do unto me this day. And when Cain heard the words, check it out. When Cain heard the words which Abel his brother had spoken, behold, the anger of Cain was kindled against his brother Abel for declaring, look at this, he mad at him for declaring this thing. What thing? That the Lord of hosts is the judge, okay, in the earth. 25, and Cain hastened, rose up, took the iron part of his plowing instrument with which he suddenly smote his brother and slew him. And Cain, here you go, Cain is a tiller of the ground. He got green finger, what people call a green finger. Adam is the tiller of the ground because they came out of the ground, right? Came from the ground. So it says, Cain spilled the blood of his brother Abel upon the ground. See that? So he killed his brother, the blood on the ground. So that's going to directly affect the gift that the Most High gave him, which is he got a connection with the earth. He a tiller of the ground. And the blood of Abel streamed upon the earth before the flock. Then 26. After this, Cain repented of having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he went and he wept over him, and it vexed him exceedingly. And Cain rose up, look at this, Cain rose up, dug a hole in the field, wherein he put his brother's body, and he turned the dust over it. And the Lord knew that Cain had done to his brother, and the Lord appeared unto Cain and said unto him, where is Abel, thy brother that was with thee? And Cain assembled, right? Just his daddy can do that. Assemble, shapeshift. Cain disassembled and said, I do not know. Am I my brother's keeper? And the Lord said unto him, what hast thou done? The voice of thy brother's blood crieth unto me from the ground. See that? Well, thou hast slain him. Now watch this. For thou hast slain thy brother and disassembled before me, and didst imagine in thy heart that I saw thee not, nor know all thy actions. But thou didst this thing and didst slay thy brother for naught, and because he spoke rightly to thee, and now therefore cursed be thou from the ground. See that? You're a tiller of the ground, and killed his brother and put him in the ground, right? Which opened his mouth to receive thy brother's blood from thy hand, wherein thou didst bury him. So you say, why am I reading this? So it's wicked as hell when you read this, to put a person down in the ground. It's wicked as hell. That's what he told Cain. You killed your brother and stuck him in the ground. So you say, what are you talking about? When you go to all these other books that they don't want us to read, even with the book Adam and Eve, they put their dead in a cave. That's what a sepulcher is. They put them in a sepulcher. Even when they was in Jerusalem, they had sepulchers. They didn't put them and bury them in the ground. So like I said before, we so far away from the truth. So what we doing is what Cain did. Every time we bury somebody, we sticking them in the ground. The ground is we see in Isaiah 66, that the Creator says the earth is an entity in itself. Matter of fact, the earth is a woman. The Most High is woman. So it's an entity in itself. So when he did this right here, this is wicked as hell. When he killed his brother and stuck him in the ground. That's what we're doing now with all our loved ones. Okay, anyway, so it says 33. And at that time, Cain went out from the presence of the Lord. And you think that ain't nothing. No, it's big. Look what that Most High said. Okay, 33. And at that time, Cain went out from the presence of the Lord, from the place where he was, and he went moving and wandering in the land toward the east of Eden. He and his and all belonging to him. So, like I said before, it's wicked. And it's in here for a reason, but like I said before, because of the way we come into this, we don't those things are not, light's not shined on them. Any comments?
Yes. Couple of things. First of all, who wrote that he was grieved, that Esau was grieved?
That he what?
It says that Esau was grieved. I wonder who wrote that, because in the next sentences you read that when the father asked him, you know, what happened to Abel, he said, "What am I, his brother's keeper?" That doesn't sound like somebody who's grieved. It just doesn't sound right. I don't know if you noticed that.
So what it's saying, let me read it again. Let me get it. It says 26. And after this, Cain repented, having slain his brother, and he was sadly grieved, and he wept over him, and it vexed him. So that vexed him. See what I'm saying? Like when a person, just say you got a daughter or a wife, and you ain't getting along with her, and then she wants to get a divorce, but y'all got a lot of money, and she gonna get a bunch of your money. So you love her, but because of what you're doing, you end up killing her. After you kill her, you grieve over it, but it vexed you.
Yeah, but not for very long. It didn't. It didn't vex him for long.
Right, yeah. But I'm saying that's what it's saying. Okay.
I agree. I just thought that was kind of weird.
Okay, yeah. Somebody else got something on that? I just thought I was shining a light on it, but because I said you go through the scriptures, even Abraham, before he died, he bought a cave to be buried in, and all this he had Sarah buried in the cave. He was buried in the cave. They wasn't put in the ground. He was buried in the cave. Sarah was buried in the cave. Leah, they was all buried in that same cave that Abraham purchased for his. When we go back to Joshua and those other books, at the book Adam and Eve, we see that before the flood, when those patriarchs died, they was in a cave, in a sepulcher. They wasn't put in the ground.
Shalom.
Right.
Is that like the monastery? Well, not when you go and they place them. Now, see, at some grave sites, they have a tomb, and they go and place their relatives that passed inside of that. The whole casket goes into this vault.
Mausoleum.
Mausoleum. Oh, yes. So thank you, sir. The mausoleum. Yes. So it's something similar to that.
Well, that's them understanding the truth, but they giving us something else. They got us doing something else, but they know the truth.
And when Abraham purchased this, he wasn't wanting them to just give them the land. He wanted to purchase that area so he could use the tomb to, the cave to put Sarah in. Is that something like the beginning of the graveyard, or basically purchasing land per se? Because they always um, if they wanted to stop and build a house there or whatever, they did it. They had no permission to ask for permission, but he asked for permission to buy that area instead of just live there, or to go and put Sarah in the cave. He asked to purchase that. So by him asking to purchase something, do you think that's how it started off, by selling land?
No, you go back to when Abraham met Melchizedek, which we know that was Shem. He refused to take anything from those wicked kings. because they're gonna later on turn around and say that they aided him or they helped him doing so. He don't want nothing given to him by those wicked folk, because he wants the Lord of hosts to be a modest for everything that happens. So that's why he they wanted to give him the cave, but he insisted that he pay for it because later on he don't want them to come back and say that they gave him the cave. So he's wanting his God, the Lord of hosts, to be take the credit and to be admonished for it. That's why he wouldn't, after he had defeated those kings in Genesis 15, he said that he don't want nothing from them. All he wanted them to do was whatever those giants had coming that was with him, Mamre and his brothers, give them what they was due to them. But I don't want nothing from you, because you're gonna say later on that you made me rich. So that's why he's buying everything. That's why they all buy things. They don't want nothing from because the wicked man is gonna always come back later with something else. So they don't want it. They ain't looking for him to get no credit for nothing. Even with Esau asked to help them build a temple, they said no, you don't have nothing to do with the temple. Our God gonna help us build it, and He's gonna furnish everything we need.
Shalom. Hearing that story just sort of emphasizes how deep this really goes, because modern times there's laws that govern how you handle the dead,
Right.
which requires a burial or cremation or but for the most part you're not allowed to just do what you want to do. You have to follow the law. And I just think that it's just it hurts my head to think just how detailed all of this stuff goes with changing our whole way of life over all these centuries in order to ensure that we were separated from God, and then watching the return of us back to him and the rapid way that we are acquiring knowledge and learning our history in real time, both in the past. It's just I don't even know what word to use for that.
Right. And the only
Yeah.
reason that
Mind-boggling.
we still here is because we ignorant to the ways. So it's a set way that we supposed to live, and which is righteous. They didn't take that righteous way of life away from us and got us doing what they do, not what we supposed to be doing. When he says in Ezekiel 37 that he's going to raise David back up, and we're going to keep the Most High's laws, statutes, and his judgments and do them. That's the purpose of that. And that's the reason it's David. It's not just somebody out of his lineage. He tell you point blank, David gonna be your shepherd. Right.
Shalom, everyone. Brother Leonard, I was gonna say sort of what Tasha said. Even to get your loved one's body. And my first cousin husband, he drove trucks, and he passed away in Oklahoma, and they had to go through so much just to get his body back to Texas. And these laws that they have when it comes to that is just ridiculous, like you were saying. And that was the first thing that I thought about, all the
Right.
trouble she had to go through just to get her husband's body back home. It's just
Right.
they just really do things, out of order. Like I said, the first thing they did, they took away our history by, giving us the New Testament.
Right.
Yeah. Linda, I want to
And
say
then
one more thing. Go ahead, sir. I'm sorry.
go ahead.
No, sir. I was just going to say, as you were reading verse 23, right? And it said, God knoweth thy secret views, right? And Psalm 139 is one of my favorite Psalms. There's nothing that you can keep from the Lord of hosts. He sees and knows everything. And in the book of Ecclesiastics, chapter 12, verse 14 says, for God shall bring every work into judgment with every secret thing, whether it be good or whether it be evil. So he sees everything.
Right. Exactly. That's what Cain don't seem to know.
Right.
Okay. Somebody else has something?
Hey, shalom, brother Leonard. I was gonna say when you speaking about the burial to put somebody in the ground versus put somebody in those like tombs and those fancy ones, it's way cheaper to put them in the ground. The
Right.
same as it's also even cheaper to cremate them, which is even more wicked.
Right. Exactly. Right. And then, like I said, look at what happens when they pass away. How quickly they decompose, according to how it takes us a while to decompose.
Oh,
They have to
wow.
hurry up. They have to hurry up and bury themselves because they start going. They
Right.
start going. It's like wax, putting hot wax on it, so they just start going. So it's something to that. There's something going on with that. Yeah.
Shalom. I had always heard that one of the reasons why they would bury their dead so quickly is because they start turning black. I don't know if that's true,
Yeah.
but I've heard that since
I
I was a
heard
little
that too.
girl,
Yeah,
and
it
they
is.
they don't
Yeah,
want
they
that.
start decomposing. That's what it is. They start
Hmm.
turning black because they start turning black because of like when you start talking about dark matter. So
Yeah.
just like we see in the ocean, you got a whole ecosystem that cleans up the ocean. That's why
Hmm.
we can't eat shrimp and the crab and all that, because that's what his job is. And so you
Mm.
see that same system with the animal life on the earth. You got the possum and the coon and the buzzard, they clean up everything on the earth. So we see dark matter when you look out in space. Well, when you start dying, that same dark matter take over with
Mm.
with the decomposing process. Okay, yeah. Anybody else got anything on that?
Yeah, I just want to say you guys keep talking about decomposing, but they're decomposing even before they get into the grave. I mean, they get skin cancer, they're falling
Right,
apart.
exactly.
Right.
It ain't the same skin. That's what I'm saying. It ain't the same makeup. There's
Nope.
right. But you know what I'm saying? We don't, we so discombobulated to that people don't see none of these things. They so bent on trying to appease the European till they can't see none of these things. Right. When they right in their face. Okay. So I'm gonna read chapter 2 of Joshua, and I'm gonna read verses 1 through 10. It says, and it was in the 130th year of the life of Adam upon the earth that he again knew Eve his wife, and she conceived and bore a son in his likeness and in his image, and she called his name Seth, saying, because God hath appointed me another seed in the place of Abel, for God has slain, and for Cain has slain him. And Seth lived 105 years, and he begot a son. And Seth called the name of his son, saying, because in that time the sons of men began to multiply and to afflict their souls and hearts, and transgressing and rebelling against God. So this is the part I want to shine light on to make tough plain. So it says, Seth lived 105 years, and he begot a son, and Seth called the name of his son Enos, saying, because in that time the sons of men began to multiply. So who is these sons of men? This the 6-day man, right? And Adam's descendants are the rulers on the planet, and the 6-day man is subject to them. So now that's why you know that Adam all the way to Noah, there was Melchizedek's. They was actually kings, righteous kings, and their job was to bring forth the knowledge of the Creator to the earth. So right here we see it tells you that, and in those days, Enos, in the days of Enoch, that the sons of men continue to rebel and transgress against God. So what is that telling you? This Melchizedek is the mediator in between. So when Melchizedek come to them to tell them something that God said, that's actually God. So they rebelling against When they rebel against what Melchizedek said, they rebelling against God. So it's the same thing I showed you the other day when it says the word of the Lord came unto the prophet. So that's an angel. He was standing before God. God told him to go tell such and such this. Then he left from God with the words that God gave him, brought him to the prophet, whomever he is. So when that prophet don't do the words, he rebelling against God. Okay, so you have to understand that. So 3 says, and it was in those days that Enoch, the son of man, that the sons of men, continued to rebel and transgress against God, to increase the anger of the Lord against the sons of men. And the sons of men went, so here you go, this is when it started. The sons of men went and they served other gods. So these are the 6-day men and his people, right? Ain't no giants yet. And they went and they served other gods. So what were these gods? They forgot the Lord of hosts, who had created them. See that? That's the 6-day man. Then them in the earth. And in those days, the sons of men, images. This is the gods right here, the wood and stone. Images of brass and iron and wood and stone, and they bowed down to serve them. So this is who they serving right here. And every man made his gods, see that, images, right, of wood and stone, and they bowed down to them, and the sons of men forsook the Lord, right? All the days of Enos. See that? Notice how they forsook the Lord all the days of Enoch, because Enos is the one in charge at that time. So when they rebelled against Enos, they rebelled against the Lord, because the Lord sent Enos and his children. See that? So we know these people up here, the sons of men, ain't none of Enos' children, but these are 6-day people. Enos and his children, right? And the anger of the Lord was kindled against their works and the abominations of which they did in the earth. And the Lord caused the waters of the river Gihon to overwhelm them, and he destroyed and consumed them, and he destroyed the third part of the earth. And notwithstanding this, the sons of men died. The sons of men did not turn from their evil ways, and their hands were extended to do evil in the sight of the Lord. So we see right here, this is one of the rivers. This is a flood right here, but it just flooded the area where they was at, right? And then 7, and in those days there were neither sowing nor reaping in the earth, and there was no food for the sons of men, and a famine was very great in the days. So what they tell you? Ain't they that's how he got the Israelites into Egypt? He brought a famine on the whole earth. That's how he got the Israelites into Egypt. So, but that wasn't nothing new, because he done it right here. Verse 8, let's say verse 7. And in those days there was neither sowing nor reaping in the earth, and there was no food for the sons of men, and the famine was very great in those days. So yeah, when we come to the famine in Egypt, that's something old. He did this before. Okay. 8, and the seed which they sowed in those days in the ground became thorns, thistles, and briars. For from the days of Adam was this declaration concerning the earth of the curse of God, which he cursed the earth on account of the sins which Adam sinned before the Lord. And it was when men continued to rebel and transgress against God and to corrupt their ways that the earth also became corrupt. And Enos lived 90 years and he begot Canaan. Any comments on that? So there's a whole lot going on that, that we, a lot of stuff we read know, but it's a whole lot going on with that.
Shalom, may I ask a question?
What's that?
So when we talk about the fallen angels coming and mating with the daughters of man, we're talking about the 6-day woman.
Right. Say what's that again?
So when we talk about the fallen angels coming mating with the daughters of man, we're talking about the 6-day woman, and then the corrupting of their faith and them turning from God and from God's chosen to teach them has a lot to do with that corruption and what they were teaching them.
Right. Because we see in the book of Enoch, those 200 angels came down and did what? Taught.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we still dealing with today. What they taught mankind.
And their
So
ongoing rebellion. Okay.
right. And but not only that, when you go back and in Joshua, it tells you that Canaan had two daughters, Ada and Zillah, and then Lamech from Cain's village crossed over and married those two girls. He married Lamech out of Cain's lineage, married to Adam's lineage, to Ada and Zillah. And the book and the scriptures tell you they were fair. Let that ferment. And
So
then
what's the
the
significance
200
of that?
angels came. The 200 angels came and did what it tells you in Genesis 6. They came and took all the women that were fair and made it with them. So when we came over here on the slave ship, and we intermingled with the, because like I said, he had the Israelite man private parts on lock. They wasn't having no sex. It was a European man sleeping with the Israelite woman. You got a whole nother woman when that happened. Like I said, let it ferment. Fair. Got a whole nother race of people when that happened. When you understand how the creator worked. So those angels came down and they chose women that was different. Well, let that ferment. Yeah, we'll talk about it. Any other questions? Any more questions?
No, sir. Yes, sir. I'm good.
Yeah. So that's what it says. You go to the book of Joshua, read that part when Lamech married into Cain's lineage. I mean, Lamech from Cain's lineage married into Adam's lineage. That's where you get. That's why it goes out the way. It says when Lamech married Ada and Zillah, you got Tubal Cain, you got Jubal and Jabal, but they now all of a sudden they musical. They can play music and all that because they got that DNA from Ada and Zillah. And then out of all the women in the world, then he mentions I can't think of her name.
Name.
Naamah. So Naamah is a product from Cain's lineage and Adam's lineage mixing. That's why it says that. Jubal all of a sudden he can play music. Go back to Adam and Eve. When Jared and all them was up on top of this mountain on this plateau, Cain's descendants was down around the bottom of the mountain. What they was doing? They were playing music. They was interested. They can play music. Where they get it from? Because of when Lamech mixed in with Cain's when Lamech mixed in with Adam's lineage, you got those boys. Tubal, you got J-Ball and Tubal. Any comments, questions?
Yeah, I have something to add.
Okay.
Hello? Yeah, I have something to add.
What you got?
Well, I remember that when our people went to war, the Almighty specifically said that they could take the younger maidens home. I don't think it was to clean the house. And he mentioned virgins too. So obviously it was so that they had the ability to procreate with these ones that were young and still impressionable.
Well, yeah, even the ones that it wasn't, because he told them shave their hair off their head and cut their nails back. So
Exactly.
so that's my whole point. What I'm saying. Well, we even just read it. He said Cain, Adam, how they go? It says that Adam knew his wife again and had Seth. And then you go from that to say that and Eve said she thanked the Lord for giving her another seed. Ain't another seed. You start off and saying Adam went into his wife, he got the seed. Adam went into his wife, and then she conceived, and then he turned around and say Eve thanked the Lord for giving her another seed. No, it's Adam's seed. So what's going on with the dead cat in the line? They going back from when they concocted Mary over there. The seed they talk about Mary had, which so they come back now. It don't make sense because she don't have no seed. So why can he tell the Israelites go into these women that's not Israelite women, and why would the Lord tell them that? Because the man got the seed. So he says go into the virgins and the other women. You shave their hair off, and you cut their nails back. I ain't really fully understood all that yet, but the man has a seed. He had a seed. So why would you turn around and then why would you even believe that Adam went into Eve, had Seth, and then Eve turned around and say the Lord gave her another seed? No, don't work.
Shalom.
That's a lot of people.
Shalom.
Yeah.
The part of what I seen, I saw a Jewish movie, and when they married their wives, they would cut their hair off and have them to clean their, clip their nails real low, and they would have to bathe and everything before they get married to them, because they choose the wife for the parents choose the wife for their son, and they would make them shave their heads, all the hair off, and clip their nails back and do that ceremony bath thing.
Right. So they let you know right there, it's the dead cat on the line, right? For them to do that because of what he said about the woman. What's her glory?
The glory
Her
is her
hair.
hair.
Okay, so you
Her
got a
hair.
righteous woman. So you got a righteous woman like Eve, or you got a righteous woman like Sarah. Then when it's time for her to get married, the Lord of hosts got a statute or a commandment to cut all her hair. Come on, let that
That's the
affirmate. So
Jewish way.
it's something for them to cut their hair off. It's something had to happen.
Yes, sir. That's the Jewish way, they say.
Yeah, that ain't the Jewish way. That's what I'm trying to say. It's not the Jewish way. Because why would he tell them to shave Rebecca hair off? Okay, let's look at this one. When he sent his servant to go get Rebecca for Isaac. When they came back, Isaac looked across the field, saw her coming. She had a veil over her face. He went out in the field. She ride up on the camel, jump off the camel, and then he took her into the tent and consummated the relationship. But according to what these Edomites talking about, she jumped off the camel, then Isaac shaved her hair off. Let that ferment. Well, that's what I was saying about how wicked these folks, what they've done to us. Look at something as simple as burial. What we doing? We doing what Cain did. And then they got a twisted sexuality and a twisted genome code in them. So now they got us you trying to impose that on us with the same-sex marriage and all that. No, they don't have nothing to do with us. They got that twisted genome in them. It's not in us. That's why he didn't want us coming dealing with them. And we accepting all these things that have nothing to do with us as Hebrew Israelites.
Right, and we running around cutting all our hair off now,
Yeah, exactly.
looking like men, and these
You
shortcuts
big
and so
butts,
forth. Right.
getting big butts and all that,
Right.
That's who they are. They lacking. They're the ones that needed a butt.
Exactly.
We ain't need no butt.
Exactly.
So now we doing it. We sitting there putting butts on top of butts.
Mm-hmm.
And then you know why we looking crazy. Okay, yeah, that's what that
They
is.
not understanding either why it's going so wrong when they go do this,
Right.
because it's not meant for us and we still running out doing it. They wondering why,
Right.
saw a video the other day and a lady, her butt looked like she had rocks in it or something. And I'm like, it's not meant for us to do that.
Exactly. So we
Shalom.
can't see it.
She hasn't come into the truth yet.
Shalom. I think the other thing too is when you think about the messaging that coming out about the idea that they want to stop interracial marriage, but yet the messaging on the other side of that is every time we're watching TV, listen to music, it's a pairing that is not our natural pairing. And I just think it's
Right.
interesting that the things that we're talking about right now, and then that coming out that really has kicked up. I mean, I remember the very first time I saw a commercial about 15 years ago with a white man with a black woman, or with a white
Right.
man um, being loving and nurturing toward a black female child. And
Right.
it just kind of went down from there. And it just reminds me now, being 15 years later, how I understand the idea about when somebody is losing something, they don't say, "Oh no, you've grown, you've gotten better, and what I did to you is wrong." No, they come down even harder with trying to keep you where you are. So it makes
Exactly.
sense, but everything that they're doing is not to admit that they ever did anything wrong, is to just try to keep the status quo.
Mm-hmm.
But once
Mm-hmm.
you let that genie out of the bottle, you can't put it back, no matter
Mm.
how hard you try. Now, some people will fall for it, but the masses will not.
Community of
Mm.
Right. Exactly. And so the longer we uh continue to follow their lead, they ain't gonna tell you nothing. Like I said, it's left up to the creator to fix that. Ain't
Shalom.
that something? Right.
Yes, sir. Shalom. Just like you said, it's left up to the Creator to show and wake up each and every individual at the time of his awakening, because everyone changes, but not at the same time. And as the Lord of hosts goes to each and every one of us and enlighten us on who He is and whom we belong to, then we will see it. And I think being that we see interracial marriages, we don't even know really, unless we really go into our ancestry background and our lineage to find out who is whom we belong to. Yes, we have come just like I believe your name, Brother Yusuf or Joseph. You have said that how the family would have an interracial family, and then as that male continues to date or be involved with another Hebrew Israelite male, I mean, um, woman, and as they keep going, we have been enslaved. Our ancestor has children from uh, the other side, the whites, the pale ones. And as it go on down and down, just like one of the presidents, his child or his grandchild is black, but I think it was Jefferson, one of them. I don't know exactly which president it was, but he had
Jefferson.
children. Jefferson. So
Jefferson's.
his children are dark. His grandchildren are dark, but they're not. But he's white. So here we are with that. You know, we have to go to our lineage to see what is what. But now that we are here, we can't change the past, but we can endure and go forth and get, the Lord of hosts is coming to us. He said, and I don't remember exactly, that we will do as the Gentiles do. We will be amongst them and mingle with them. Do you know that verse or chapter that in book that is in, Brother Leonard?
I don't. Anybody else?
Okay. So it's not in, is that something that was said that we will be in bondage and do as they do?
Oh yeah, yeah. Curses tell us that.
Okay.
I'm gonna
Okay.
scatter
Yes,
you.
sir.
I'm gonna scatter you
So
amongst the other nations, and you're gonna pick up their ways and their laws.
yes, sir. So as
So,
that happened and it's embedded in one, as we say, being a Baptist, and now there's no really no such thing as being a Baptist. If you're a Christian, I guess you're going to go to that scenario. But we was grown up to, we were indoctrinated into this Baptist, this Christian way of living, and it has to break away. So as we see our brothers and sisters may not be the true Israelites, we don't know until the Lord of Hosts spirit, our spirit connect with each other, like minds be around each other. Spirit recognize spirit. So as we go forth, it's just my analogy on what is going on in this world today. We look at individuals, let's look at their spirit, and ask the Lord of Hosts to, you know, help us with our ignorance. Get us a little knowledgeable about what's going on and who we see, and not to um, welcome them so closely, into our fold, but yet
Right.
be aware of who we are and to whom we belong to if they belong to the same. Because, like they said, at one time, they said the devil can come to church, and he'll know the Bible back and forth. You can speak to someone that will tell you everything about Genesis 1 through, from Genesis 1 to Revelations 13. And who's to say this person is an Edomite, you know? Um, but their
Right.
father, it's just so much we have to endure and take baby steps into. Some can consume a lot at one time, but then some can't. So we just,
Right.
as we go along, I thank you so much for this platform. It is great, and I've learned so much, and I'm eager to continue to be amongst everyone. As the Lord of Hosts is over this whole thing, he's opening up everyone's ears and eyes to see what's happening and how we can move forth. And that's all I want to say. I know our time is near. Thank you.
Okay.
Just want to
Anybody else
Shalom.
have
say,
anything?
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, sir. Good. Oh, okay. I also wanted to
No,
say
I was
something
saying,
that
go ahead.
okay. I used to be really perplexed about the idea of, again, as we continue to hear and understand and know about the depths of the evil that has been done in order to rip us away from our God, that it's now down to the DNA with the mingling and the marriages and the children and all of that. And I used to be perplexed because, of course, in my own bloodline, I do know and understand that it's not pure. And so
Right.
as I understand, I think you had said something, Brother Leonard, about the remnant returning and being cleansing, because he has the ability to do that. And I think that has helped me to find peace in that and understanding that. I mean, because everything
Right.
happens at his will, and it's not for me to discern or figure out who's who, but to follow our God and let him point that out.
Right. Exactly. Right. So he says that to understand his creation, to understand him, look at his creation. So a prime example of that is look at conception. How many sperm cells go to the ovary, but only one of them end up in there, and that's how you come about, right?
Right.
So go to the turtle, the sea turtle. How he lay all his eggs on the shoreline of the sea, and then hundreds of thousands of them, but only a few of them make it to the water from the sand bed that she laid all them eggs at to get to the water. You got all kind of predators waiting there. So she had to lay so many of them, knowing that some of them weren't gonna make it.
Yeah.
Some of them was just some of them came out as decoys for the other ones to get to the water. So that's how like I was saying before, when you say DNA, yeah, your DNA can be got mingled, but you could be that one that DNA it didn't affect. If you dealing with the scriptures now, that means that whatever happened back then it ain't you, because you receiving the creator, you on point with everything he doing. So that's then that's another one of those ways where we disrespect what he capable of doing.
Yeah.
Right.
Praises.
So, like I said, we keep reading over and over again what he said, and it came to pass, and at that time and this day. So, if you at this right now and this time and this day, you are already special. Come on.
Yes.
Right. That's how that works. Yeah. So,
Well,
with that
I
being
just
said, go ahead.
I wanted, yeah. Well, what I wanted to share with this. I mean, I know these people are petty. I don't think they're that petty. I'm sure you guys have heard of the one drop rule, right?
Right.
Okay, it's into law. It's a law that anybody who has one drop is a Negro if they have one drop of Negro blood. Now, why is that?
That's
Because
their
these
law.
people know, they know that it doesn't matter if you only have one drop of blood. That doesn't change your DNA assignment if your father was black, even though the mother was white. It does not change your DNA. Okay, you're still after your father, just like the word corroborates. That's what it says. And yeah, we are all, we're not pure, none of us. But one thing that you will find among our peoples is they have like point something Neanderthal to nothing. Whereas other people have 20, 30. I even see somebody have 40 something percent. So, so they're still out there live and driving these Neanderthals. But just so that you understand that, and I think what the sister says is correct, that it says that he's going to cleanse us and he has the ability to turn our DNA to what it needs to be, especially when we see that when COVID came around, that instead of doing the natural, instead of taking the natural approach that they always take whenever there's something like that that happens, they changed it up and started changing the DNA of the person to interact with this COVID-19 problem. So they're able to do that. I'm sure Father in Heaven will be able to do that with no problem.
Right. Right.
Yeah.
It's all about that. It's all about that. Like he said, it's in the beginning. He told Abraham, your seed. Everybody knows what the seed is. It's by that seed, and that's the only way we're going to be able to tell. It doesn't matter what you look like, because there's a lot of people that look like us, and they're Hamites. So we can't go by that. It has to be by DNA. And he obviously said it back then on purpose, knowing that it was going to be an issue today, because there's no other way to be able to tell. How can we tell? You know?
Right.
Anyway, that's what I had to share.
Okay. Anybody else before we go? Everybody good? Okay.
Yes, sir.
Yes,
I'm
sir.
good.
Great class.
Okay. So with that being said, I'm gonna say shalom, shalom, and another shalom. I'll see y'all on Tuesday for our Israelite Advanced Bible study.
Shalom,
Shalom.
everyone.
Shalom, shalom, shalom.
Shalom,
Shalom,
everyone.
everyone.
I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God. I highly recommend that you get this book and you read it because it's a must that you understand who God head is in the order that's in the Old Testament and Tanakh, because it's not the same as in the New Testament. And when you read this and you get an understanding, then the scriptures open up and then you begin to understand. So I highly recommend that you get this book. It's the Elohim of Israel, and it's a breakdown on the word Elohim and who the God of Israel is and the Godhead.